Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this tournament showdown. It's going to be myself with the forces of the Dowie facing off against Subutai, who's going to be using Old Nurgle, and it is going to be Festus versus Thoric. Should be quite a bit of fun. We got some Bugman's Rangers, we got a cool hero squad. It is going to be Thoric and Gotrek. Gotrek is pretty solid here. He does do magic damage and has anti-large, so against the Plague Toads, Chaos Knights, and also against some of the Nurgle big characters, he can do very well. And Thoric, for the same reason, he does magic damage, he has good armor piercing, so he's good against Chaos Warriors. And even though he doesn't give a map-wide buff anymore, having access to a slowing ability against Plague Toads and Chaos Knights is very, very good. And Rune of Wrath and Ruin is also excellent at killing Plague Bearers and Marauders with Grey Opens. And lastly, we do have a Thane, just to have a little bit of extra stopping power in there. You know, if you can catch Festus and lay the kind of a three-man beatdown on him, it's going to be quite good. But as far as the core of our army goes, it is going to be Miners in the front, just one chaff, with the Dwarf Warrior Grey Opens in the secondary. Nurgle is a fairly armored faction. Plague Bearers aren't super good against Dwarves. They're very vulnerable against missiles, so you're pretty much always going to see either Marauders or Chaos Warriors. So having the Dwarf Warrior Grey Opens, I think, is pretty solid. Now, Bugman's Rangers are something I really like in this matchup for a couple reasons. Obviously, bows are excellent against Nurgle. They will struggle a little bit against the armor, but there's typically a lot of Marauders that for them to shoot, and Plague Toads are always the secondary calling for Nurgle in this matchup. As somebody who mains Nurgle, you see a lot of Plague Toads, right, in this matchup. So Bugman's Rangers can pound the Plague Toads, they can pound the Marauders, they can do some okay damage against the Warriors, but more importantly, they can fight off the harassing units very well. So if Nurgle attacks you with Furies, Poison Warhounds, these guys can fight them off, and they also have passive healing, right? So they're just drinking that brew and getting crunk. So they do some great work. Chaos Knights are a little bit problematic for them to get run over by, but aside from that, they do well. So we got triple Bugman's Rangers, more blasting charges in the back in the hero squad, and we will be calling in some heavy firepower. Now, for old Subutai here, he is going to be bringing the Soul Grinder. Soul Grinders have had some play in this matchup. I've had limited success. I find that cannons are a little bit too hard of a counter against them, but if you can use terrain and these hills and things like that, you can sometimes get good bombardments on the Dwarven missiles, but that's why you usually want to go Rangers and or Bugmans instead of Quarrelers, because you're going to be invisible out of the gates, right? For the rest of his army, it is going to be a Marauder Grey Open Wall with Chaos Warriors, going for the Shielded variant, which is very, I mean, they're both good ideas. You can do the Shielded variant, you can do the Grey Open variant. I like the Grey Open variant if you know you have terrain to sneak through, but if you have open field, the shields are often a little bit safer. Festus is going to be healing, and he is going to be using Fleshy Abundance. And yeah, Toads coming in. On the far side, we got Furies coming to protect the Soul Grinder. And I do call in a single Gyrocopter. Gyrocopters are excellent here. Fire damage, armor piercing, anti-large. Really good answer against the Soul Grinder, but also good against Toads and respectable at sniping the characters. So I felt pretty comfortable with the Gyrocopter here. I knew that I had some bows nearby, and we do call in another Ranger unit, so just going to be pulling him back. And as long as the Soul Grinder is being kept somewhat honest, I'm okay with it. But, you know, he's going to get a little bit of work in there, but yeah, he's going to need to do a ton of damage with that Soul Grinder for it to pay for itself against most of these cheap Dowie infantry. So I wasn't sure about his plan right now. He was moving through the trees. This is a very meta tactic on this map. You move through the tree line, right? And then you swarm out onto Objective 3, and then the Dwarves will be forced to kind of pull some assets back, and that's when you push the middle and bum rush it, right? So that's what I thought his plan was going to be. But I did form ranks pretty well here. We had the Dwarf Warriors. I had my hero squad blasting charges ready in the secondary with Bugman's Rangers, which he didn't know they were there, as well as triple Bugman's Rangers saturated in a bit of a checkerboard formation, ready to kind of take them on. So that was the plan here. In the meantime, Gyrocopters with Brimstone guns shooting at the old Soul Grinder here and getting some good damage on that bad boy. Festus does have Fleshy Abundance for that, so, you know, not a whole lot I can do in terms of killing it quickly. Ranger's going to be forming about face here, but the old Furies are able to dodge a lot of those shots. They do eat a couple arrows there, maybe take 150 HP damage, not too much, but yeah, just a little bit of cat and mouse right here. Now, the frontline fighting is soon to be underway, and we will be calling in a cannon shortly. Cannon's very, very good against Nurgle. Just a single cannon, you don't want to bring too many, because it can be hard to defend them. Even though Nurgle is kind of slow, they do have some diving elements like Toads and Furies and Hounds. So I think just having a single cannon, which you can defend with like one Slayer, is really going to be the, you know, the red winner for you. So I thought he was moving to the middle. He relocates his army over here, and we're going to be getting about face with the Thanes and Thoric and preparing to defend the middle objective. And it looks like he's going to be pushing on all of them, that is for sure. So the Gyrocopter with the Brimstone gun going to be pounding into the Soul Grinder, getting it down pretty low. I would imagine that old Festus is going to be dropping some heals, but he's done some respectable damage. It's not been bad. Some of the Warriors and Rangers here have been hit a little bit. Bugman's Rangers going to be moving forward, as well as basic Rangers. Yeah, I did have some on the other side. But here comes the Mortal Kombat. He's going to be doing a weird push where he hits Objective 2 and 3 at the same time with his massive, massive wall here. Blasting Charge is moving up to try and get some salvos on the old Marauders. Chaos Warriors don't take as much from Blasting Charges. They're very, very tanky. And he does also have some Chosen of Nurgle, one of the more chat infantry units in the entire game. Very, very tough to take down. 11.4k HP is insane. I think like Slaanesh Chosen have just over 10. Nurgle Chosen do have the highest HP pools, which is as it should be. It would be pretty silly if Slaanesh was tankier than that too. So he's just kind of bouncing back and forth, trying to take me out of the static position here. Bows, in the meantime, shooting away. And the Gyrocopter with the Brimstone gun going to be pulling back. And ladies and gentlemen, do I have a treat for you? We got the Hammerers. So the Dwarven Hammerers, I was like, wait a second. These guys do magic damage. They can kill Chaos Warriors. They're pretty stalwart themselves with 10k HP. Let's see how these bad boys do in this matchup, right? That was the game plan. So Bugman's Ranger is going to be focused firing the Chosen, and they're just so resilient. Silver Shields, 120 armor, but I was like, I need to start working on those bad boys. And here the Furies do get pushed back once again. Gyrocopter going to be scooting forward, and the frontline fighting is soon to be underway. First Blasting Charge salvo is out as the Dowie unleashes salvo of hellish fire onto the Chosen Warriors. And it actually does a respectable amount of damage, but between Festus and, just their massive HP pool, it doesn't quite bring him down. But the whole idea was, let's get my hero squad picking off the models, and then we can call in the Hammers to hopefully wear those bad boys down. Here we got Chaos Warriors versus Dwarf Warriors with Great Opens. Chaos Warriors probably barely win that fight, but even still, it's not that bad of a matchup for me since I have the Great Opens. And we do call in a couple more minor units to do some heavy fighting here. Gyrocopter keeping that Soul Grinder honest, and it looks like Subutai is going to be arriving with a massive wave of Plague Toads through the forest. A very, very good map for Nurgle. You're able to get flanked without being shot, so it's a pretty sneaky little pass. But the Chosen are getting their butt kicked, which makes sense. I have 3 characters on them. I have, 2 really powerful armor-piercing characters, Gotrek, who's sort of like a bit of a demigod type character, right? In terms of the plot armor he has in the books, and of course Thoric has good AP as well. So the Hammers have arrived. Unfortunately, they do eat a bit of a downhill charge and are getting soul grindered, but they are going to kill some Chosen as well. Hammers are no joke. And they do have good AP and also magic damage. So against the Plague Toads, hopefully they'll be able to do a little something. But they're taking it like champs. But now we have the 2 Bugman's Rangers saturating into the Plague Toads here. So overall, this is probably going to be a bit of a win for us. On the high ground, the Dwarf Warriors are struggling. The Chaos Warriors basically taking no damage, and another Toad unit has arrived. And in response to the Toads, we do call in the dreaded Gyrocopter. So the Dowie going to be getting the Royal Air Force coming out. And yeah, they'll do some great damage against the Plague Toads. You see the Plague Toads have already lost 2 models, and the call-in soon is going to be the cannon. I'm pretty sure we get one this game. I played this a couple days ago, so I'm not sure. But one of the Gyrocopters, I tried to unsummon it, but he actually shot up with the Soul Grinder, which is really funny. I was wondering how that happened, but Plague Toads do get killed by the Bugman's Rangers Crossfire. So 2 of them shooting well, and now we're working on these old Chosen here. The Chosen of Nurgle, 21 leadership, fighting like absolute beasts, but these Dowie are stalwart, baby, and they've already gotten about 400 value. Isn't bad considering they were getting hit by Plague Toads on a downhill charge and some of the most elite infantry in the game, and hopefully they're going to be able to win this one out. But another unit of Plague Toads is coming. These Dwarves certainly can't catch a break. A lot of scary things coming their way, and some of the Plague Toads here do get worn down. We managed to get these guys close to crumbling. Miners holding on to the objective. On the middle, we got that one unlocked pretty good. Dwarf Warriors, Rangers, and Blasting Charges kind of sitting there. Should have Blasting Charged these guys in the flank, but just holding them in position, trying to remain stalwart here, as we do call in a cannon now. So the cannon is going to be ripping shots. Downtown, fire, reload, fire, let's get it. Chaos Knights coming from the high ground, and they're pretty scary here. If they get into your backfield, they can cause a ton of havoc, but cannons are a very hard counter against Chaos Knights if you're able to catch them in the open like this, and we do manage to get that. So a lot of these very expensive Chaos Knights are going down. They've already lost 15 models, which is absolutely brutal, and I do have Slayers nearby, so I'm being pressured on multiple fronts here, but this is where Bugman's Rangers are absolute beasts, right? Their defensive nature, 38 melee defense, allows me to allocate my defenses elsewhere. So instead of having to pull Slayers up to protect corollary units, the Bugman's Rangers' passive healing is enough to endure the Plague Toads, at which point I can just get the Slayers on top of the Chaos Knights. So I felt pretty good about that. We managed to hold on to the 2 objectives. Here on Objective 2, we do have some Marauders with the Great Opens here, and sending some Miners with Blasting Charges towards his back objective. I'm like, if he's not going to defend this, let's send a cheap unit there and kind of keep him honest. So Slayers against Chaos Knights, they take a head-on charge, and they're basically just trying to get in and shut down the cannon. But the Slayers, even though they're getting trampled a little bit, they still are going to end up winning this fight. The Knights are wavering. They did eat another cannon right as they got in. You can see the last Samurai right there. And now they're just going to be getting popped here. That is for sure. So the Chaos Knights are running away. Potentially going to be going off the side of the map, unsummoning, doing a little bit of a cleanup here. And now I saw Sweet Festus all alone. So I was like, oh, baby. And Gotrek Gurnison, son of Gurney's going to be moving in, coming in with the steel chair. And Festus does dodge that attack, but he is going to be getting hunted pretty heavily. And we do have Thoric and the Thane nearby, so yeah, Gotrek's a lot faster than Festus. Festus is only 30 speed. He's very risky to bring him alone without support. And in this case, he is going to be getting the dirty pretty hard. We hunt him with all the characters, and the Rune of Wrath Rune also goes down to the Chaos Warriors. Not doing a ton of damage, But Festus is really, really not looking super good, Mr. Stark. Now, Chosen of Nurgle moving into the backfield. These guys are pretty beast mode. Despite all the adverse circumstances, they still got 700 value. Not bad. Slayers being used against Chaos Warriors does suck, but they hit hard enough and have good enough stats that they're able to at least push through those very tattered ones. And the cannon is now back online, shooting into whatever it can. So we're shooting into Warriors and Toads, and now it looks like another Chaos Knight of Nurgle's coming in. But we have accrued a pretty massive value lead. He does have some healing, but old Festus is going to be chased into the tree line here. So Festus is on the run. And we do have the points lead. The back one is also going to be ninja'd. Granted, Nurgle is finding its way onto the middle point here, as my Dwarf Warriors have been fighting all game, are going to be routed. So, you know, they tried their best, but the decrepit hordes of Nurgle, they do move in, and these Foul Marauders do claim victory against those Brave Dowie. Granted, they were just, you know, they were just the miners. They weren't anything terribly scary. So here comes Chaos Knights pouring into my backfield. Slayers are all over them. The other Chaos Knights did come back, so they did rally. I didn't manage to chase them off the back of the battlefield. Bugman's Rangers eat a charge from the Chaos Knights, but it really wasn't that bad. Their melee defense is really, really good. And something you forget is they have charge defense against large foes. So the charge bonus of the Chaos Knights isn't super good, and the Bugman's Rangers don't give any shits. They're able to just stay here and tank it, allowing the Slayers to catch up and start butchering down these Chaos Knights of Nurgle. So those Knights are going to be falling. Cannonballs still shooting in. Chaos Knights getting ripped apart by the cannons. And thankfully the Dowie are short enough that the cannons are able to shoot over the heads of their compatriots here, so they were able to hang in there and do well. Now, back objective was ninja'd. There's going to be another Chaos Knight of Nurgle coming in, the third one, which is going to be a very easy kill, unfortunately, for those very, very far out there miners. But the battle's looking very good for us. We're up 10k. We do have Festus. He did rally in the tree somehow. I don't know how Palpatine returned, but he did. And I have a Thane on him, and I do also have the Gyrocopter. And I realize that I'm going to need a little bit more. So what I end up doing is I send Gotrek over to finish him off with another Gyrocopter. I can't let Festus come back. I can't let that wound suffer in the ranks of the Dowie Book of Grudges, right? It has to go down. He has to pay the price. So Gotrek Garnison's going to hustle back there with his 42 speed, and Thoric is going to go handle the middle and make sure that the old ways are maintained here. So Slayer is battling Chosen. Sucks, but, you know, it is what it is. These Chosen just doing great. Up to 1,200 value. I mean, these are the same Chosen from the beginning, so yeah, really, really powerful here in this situation as the old Slayers do get pinned in and just not trading super well, but what can you do? More Slayers going to be hustling up. Bugman's Rangers able to get in there and get rip some nice shots into the Soul Grinder, sitting at -2 leadership. Probably going to be disintegrating. Slayers here clearing through the tattered remnants of the Chaos Warriors, and the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are trying to make their way to the point. Subutai is holding it pretty well considering the value difference. I'm at 12, he's at 6. You could probably say his healing maybe accounts for like 2k value, but that is still a big, big difference, especially when the Dwarves are ahead of you on points as well. So here, you're going to see Festus getting absolutely gooned here in the forest now that Gotrek has arrived and Gyrocopters are nearby. The back point does go back here, but the middle should be ours. We have a lot of units moving up, a lot of chaff units. Dwarf Warriors with Great Opens on their way, doing a little bit of housekeeping. Finally, the Chosen have been broken. Those Brave Slayers certainly fulfilled their oath. Getting about 800 value there, which isn't terrible. Plague Toads going down to old Thoric. Slayers, the Dragonback Slayers, no Mere Slayers, will be rushing in there, looking extra pissed off with their cool tattoos. They are intercepted by Marauders. That was a good micro play, pulling the Toads back and letting the Slayers get into some of the chaff-centric units. But overall, Dragonback Slayers could probably solo this entire point here. And on the backside, we do have the Miners with Blasting Charges still occupying that point, so he hasn't been able to get that one back. And we just have so many units coming. Festus getting chased off the side of the map. That, ladies and gentlemen, is basically going to be GG. The cannon going to keep punishing the Chaos Knights. We do get a Rune of Wrath and Ruin, so they're down to frickin' 28 speed, which means Slayers can catch them, and they're just getting torn to shreds. Fecundity going down, the army passive of Nurgle, and those Chaos Knights do get away, but not before they eat a lot of shots. Dwarven cannon crews were able to be defended by Slayers against Furies, and that is it. So a lot of damage coming in. And yeah, the Dwarves held firm. I think my hero squad was pretty clutch. If I hadn't been able to bully Festus out of the battle or deal with those Chosen in the beginning with my triple hero, I think we would have been in trouble. Gotrek was great. Thoric didn't really catch as much, but 800 value on a Thane is money. And Bugman's Rangers, big MVPs too. 1200, 800 value, very solid. The Dwarves are usually more of a team performance faction. There's not anybody who really usually gets a ton. Slayer's all doing well though. 1200, 1000. Cannon at 2100. Gyrocopters as well, 1200 and 900 there. So a lot of decent performances. The Hammers were, I was a little bit disappointed with them. That was my experiment in this matchup. But, you know, they also did get swarmed by top tier units and Toads and healing. And, you know, there was a lot of things. And the downhill charge, which wasn't great either. But as far as his build goes, I played this matchup a ton from the Nurgle perspective. It's very winnable for Nurgle. I don't know. I would say it's map dependent for Nurgle. But this map is actually not bad for them because you have the forest to sneak through so you can avoid cannons. What you need with Nurgle is Festus is great, but you don't want to ever bring him unless you can protect him. So you want to go double Exalted Heroes on horseback or foot, because the Exalted Heroes of Nurgle with their Grey Opens will beat the brakes off this Dwarf Hero squad. if you bring Festus with Rancid Visitations and Fleshy, and then bring the 2 heroes of Nurgle, you will crush the Dwarven hero core, and they can just keep grinding and accruing value for you. So that, in my experience, has been my success. Now, I've still lost it a ton of times as Nurgle. It's not easy. The Dwarves do not know, they know how to roll, man. They do not mess around. So, and Dwarves can also bring some more combat-centric characters. Like, you can bring Ungrim, too, instead of Thoric. You can even go Thorgrim Grudgebearer. He's not bad. With the hero squad, like Thorgrim and Gotrek, plus a Thane might be able to beat the Nurgle hero squad, just with their raw, like, combat power. It's hard to say. But GG, well played. Chaos Knights were definitely a bust. They did not perform very well, so maybe you know, something to consider as well. All right, guys, see you around. Take care of yourselves. That's it for today, and the Grudge has been satisfied, man. That's it.